How have you got a repeat marketing or scam phone call off your back? I got a call from the Social Security Administration. I asked for the company's address, and he paused and said, New York, America. I took a call from the "I hear you've had an accident that wasn't your fault" call that I get about once a week. It's automated at first, but as soon as I said yes, I got put through to someone. I spent 20 minutes explaining how someone reared into my lane and crashed into me, and it wasn't my fault. At the end, when they asked me for details on the damage, I explained that they'd bent the handlebars a bit, but the bicycle was mostly okay. They hung up on me, and I haven't heard back from them in about a month. I always answer, "Hello, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Telemarketing Fraud Department, how may I help you?" For some reason, they always hang up on me. Yeah, got a call from the duct cleaning people. I told them I don't have ducts, I have geese. They just hung up on me and haven't bothered me since. I told them that I was a member of their branch, a floor above them, and that they misdialed. They said, "Frick you," and hung up. I didn't get a call back from them for a few months. Oh man, this is great. I think I'm going to have to finally start picking up on these idiots and take my own spin on this. Let them go through whatever little spiel they have, add in a little giggle here and there, and finally just start laughing and tell them it's James or Cindy down the hall, and ask them out on a date. I asked them for their social security, and they hung up on me. Whack. Haha, I just did the same. I answered all worried and said, "So, I can borrow yours for a while instead, right?" They got angry and hung up on me. No calls back though. The thing that really gets them is wasting their time. They're getting paid to make calls, so the longer you keep them on, the better. One thing I like to do is start rambling a story that goes nowhere, like Grandpa Simpson does on The Simpsons. You know, "Survey? Yes, I've taken some surveys in my time. Why, I even worked on one. Now I think it was in '06. Or was it '07? No, it must have been '06, because that was the winter I crashed my Buick. God, I missed that car. It was such a beautiful shade of green like the jungle. Now, I've been to the jungle, and boy, do they have mosquitoes." You know, as a working voice actor, I can't help but feel like I'm really missing out on some opportunities to have some fun with these people, instead of my usual frustration. A pity that most of mine seem to be robots, but oh well. I'm sure another scammer will call again, since it's just an act that all of them do, but I got a social security scam call. They told me they'd found 22 pounds of white snow in a Toyota Camry with some blood in the front seat because they always say that exact line. I responded, "Oh my god, that's terrible. So are you telling me that this was not you who left the car there?" "No, that was me, but I had 30 pounds of white snow in that car. Are you telling me that 8 pounds went missing?" So he was very confused, and I was accusing him of stealing it. Then he started swearing at me until he hung up. No, it was a silver Toyota. Wait a minute, is the body still in the trunk? The last call I had was the standard, "You've been in a car accident." I had a little chat with them, but they hung up once I told them I'd been decapitated in the crash. I always hit the button to speak with a person or get more info, or sometimes they call with a live person to begin with. I put on my most seductive voice and say, "Hey baby, how you doing?" They usually hang up immediately. If not, my next response to whatever they say is, that sounds really hot. What are you wearing?" Pretty close to 100% hang up and just don't call back. This guy keeps calling me, telling me that there's a warrant out for my arrest and the cops are looking for me. Cool. I'm like, "What town do I live in? What town do you live in?" The guy gets teed off and hangs up. I crap you not, he calls me back in a week. I'm like, "Oh my god, it's you again. Did he figure out what town I live in yet?" And he says he fricking hates me and hangs up. Never got another call. I tried to troll the guy who was clearly calling people to get their bank account information by saying they were giving away money to help college students. He was from India and was dedicated to his job. I tried to tee him off for about 30 minutes, but he kept interrupting me, and I eventually told him to F off and hung up the phone. He kept cutting me off and saying, "But my friend, my friend." I got a call. They started reeling off this massive script. Finished probably after 2 minutes of solid talking, and I politely sat through the whole thing. I paused and said, "Sorry?" She said, "Again?" and started the whole script again from the start. Another 2 minutes solid talk war later, and I said, "Sorry?" This time there was a bit of frustration in her voice. "Again?" And once again did the whole 2 minutes again, aggressively this time. "Sorry? F this," and the call ended. Just play dumb and eat up their time. They're playing a numbers game and don't want to spend 30 minutes with someone that gives them nothing. In that 30, they would rather get shot down 20 times and maybe find one old lady that they can trick. My grandfather got fed up with telemarketers one time in the late 90s and early 2000s. His response? He stayed on the phone with the guy for over an hour, acting super interested in the guy's sales pitch. He had them so convinced that they actually sent a sales representative to our house. Grandpa then proceeded to string this poor idiot along for another few hours while he sat there smoking cigarettes and constantly changing the conversation. Then, once the guy finally thought they'd come to some sort of business agreement, my grandpa flat out admitted that he was never actually interested and told the guy to F off and leave the property. Never mess with a bored old man with a lot of time on his hands. Not that I want to sprint towards the grave, but I can't wait to be retired and have nothing to do. I may actively seek this crap out. I unplugged the landline. It was either that crap or my father-in-law, so win-win. Answer the phone, connect to an agent, mute your phone, and carry on with what you were doing. They quickly take you off their dialers when you waste their agent's time. I'm mostly the same, but I've stepped it up. Answer, connect, mute the same, but when a person picks up and starts speaking, I rapid-fire press numbers on my keyboard until they hang up. My favorite response to it has been, "Beautiful song, sir. We won't call again." They did call again, though. We don't have a receptionist at our office. Everyone is responsible for answering the phone, but it seems like I'm the only person willing to answer the GD phone here, which means I get all the spam calls. I recently started just deliberately annoying them and playing music on the keypad, and it actually helped. It's funny to see which spammers will hold out the longest. The longest I've had someone on mute was 4 minutes before they hung up. The narrator is almost getting sad that he doesn't have a lot of telemarketers in the country that he lives in to experiment these kinds of shenanigans on. We get maybe one a month here. I've got one unknown caller that likes to cuss me out for leaving him on mute to see if I'll take him off mute to yell at him. I think he just wants to sample my voice. A few weeks ago, he just left a voicemail saying, "John, you're a prick." I'm curious as to what his scam is, but not curious enough to actually engage. This is a landline. One phone in my house is just an old Plantronics headset. Doesn't have caller ID, but allows me to answer with it already muted. The only time I pick up without a known caller ID is using this headset, just for entertainment. Sometimes I'll unmute it long enough to say hello, then go back to mute. If I hear the call center boop tone, then I can just hang up at that point. My friend speaks English, Spanish, and Russian. He would just start switching randomly between languages, and each language had a different personality. He would confuse them into total submission. They rarely called back. Got called that there was virus on my computer. Told them this was impossible, as I throw my computer in the river, so the police couldn't get any evidence on me. Haven't heard from them since. I love these guys. I have a gaming keyboard with a bunch of extra keys off to the left that are bound to similar keys on the normal keyboard. SteelSeries stealth mode, such as 1 through 9, WASD, Control-Alt-Space, and a handful of others. So many times I get people upset because when they ask me to look at the lower left corner of my keyboard and ask me to tell them what key is to the right of the control key, I answer the C key, because that's what's there on my computer. Completely throws them so far off their script that they implode and normally start cussing me out. I tell the Microsoft ones that they couldn't possibly be real because I pirated my copy of Windows. Sometimes we get down to the tangent of them knowing who I am and that they're sending the police to arrest me if I don't pay up. Either that or I play super dumb and ask if they're talking about that there invisible web machine. I used to be a cable guy and I can't tell you how many times I had to explain to a customer that their computer was not in fact the internet, and that their computer not working didn't mean that their internet was out. I try to pass on that frustration to people who really deserve to feel it. My dad and I were on a road trip with his phone connected to the speakers via Bluetooth. He gets a call about this guy wanting to give my dad a credit card with some high credit for just $1. My dad knew this was a ploy to get his credit card details. He led him on for at least an hour until my dad just goes, "Nah, I don't have $1 to spare. That's too much for my poor self." The scammer was so mad he was yelling, "But sir, it's only $1. My dad just laughed and hung up. Good times. We laugh about it still. The phone scam that puts you through to someone who says you've been in an accident no longer calls me because I just kept telling them an elephant ran out in front of my car and it was a hit and run. Didn't get the plate. My wife got a call from Microsoft. I acted confused and asked if they were from a help desk or something because I'm on my work laptop. After a bit, I told them I work for a big tech company, and if my laptop is having problems, it should be HR calling me. They panicked and hung up, pretty sure she hasn't gotten another one since then. It didn't help that she didn't own a laptop, she only had her company one, and that mine was a Mac, so we literally didn't own a Windows box at the time. My mom has ruined one of these calls unintentionally. I run Ubuntu on her laptop that she only uses for mail and online banking, and I'm the one who maintains it. She got one of those calls and actually talked to them for a good 10 minutes. She really tried to follow the instructions and everything. Finally, the caller asked which version of Windows she was running. Ubuntu? Ubuntu. And they hung up and never tried again. My wife says, "I'll just pass you on to my technical person," and hands me the phone. The last time I kept a guy on the line for about 5 minutes, playing dumb and trying to find the start menu. After a while, I let him off the hook and told him it was a Mac, and he dropped the call. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below, and if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out Easy Mode, also linked below, and subscribe. I would receive a specific one 9 times out of 10. Your car warranty is about to expire. Press 1 if you would like to be connected to a representative. So I would oblige and wait for someone to come on the line and say, make, model, and year of your vehicle, which I usually followed up with, 2013 Hasbro ATV, or 2017 Little Tykes Tricycle, or something of that nature. I must have become a famous caller because they only called maybe 6 times after I started doing it, and they always started with, oh, look who it is. Eventually, it just stopped. I assume it's because they were tired of wasting their time on someone who was wasting their time. I usually reply with, what car are you talking about? And they'll say, can you confirm the year, make, and model? And I just keep asking, what car are you talking about? They hang up every time. Sometimes I get snippy and petty and say, well, you're calling about my car's extended warranty, which means you clearly know what car I own, so you tell me. They hang up, of course. I've done that with the credit card once. Will this be for the Visa or MasterCard? You called me and you don't know what the card is? One time they called me on my work number, asked for the person who had the number before me, who retired before I joined, and said that his car was expired, giving what was as far as I know the correct make and model. When I informed them that said coworker had retired and could no longer be reached at this number, so they should stop calling, they informed me that my vehicle's warranty was about to expire as well, even though they had no idea who I was. I hung up on them at that point. I mean, on the last one, you can at least appreciate their can-do attitude to the situation, if not their intelligence. My main question is, how do people not just laugh at them when they realize what's going on? About once or twice a week, I'd get the Microsoft support phone call. For about 3 weeks, I would hang up on them. After about a month of this, I decided to screw with them. I let them give their line about how my computer is sending them errors, blah blah blah. I kept responding with, interesting, okay, fascinating, and other platitudes. When they said they wanted to connect to my computer, I told them this would be difficult. They asked why. I told them they called the server room for the Pentagon. I do not think I've heard anyone hang up more quickly. Even better, be an engineer at Microsoft and receive one of those calls while at work. Put them on speaker and proceed to mess with them with all your coworkers listening. Then bust out, oh, so I'm in the building on Central Campus in Redmond. Which building are you in? What's your alias so I can look you up? Sadly, they stopped calling us after that. After I had my first child, I kept getting calls about how the netting they used for my hernia surgery was being recalled, and that I could get a lot of money if I took the time to talk to them. I told them that I'd never had that surgery, and I think it must be a mistake. They asked if I was in the hospital on a given day. I said yes, because I'd had a baby, not because I'd had any surgery. It looks like their records are mistaken, and to please take me off the list. I thought that was that. I got a phone call 3 times a week for months afterwards, having the exact same conversation each time. I would say, take me off this list right now and I want to speak to your manager. They would hang up. I could tell it was the same guy. Finally, after almost a year of this crap, I was sitting in the car waiting for an appointment. I was pretty early and had a lot of time to kill. They call me again. Me? You've made a mistake. Take me off this list and I want to talk to whoever's in charge. He hung up. I realized that I actually had their number on my phone, so I called him. I have your number now. I'm not going to stop calling until you let me talk to your manager. He said, ma'am, please do not call this number again, as it's my personal cell phone. Oh man, it was so on when he told me this. I repeated to call his number over 20 times. Each time he answered, I said the same thing. I have your number now. I'm not going to stop calling you until you let me talk to your manager or take me off this list for real. At one point, he even said I was mistaken and knows I had hernia surgery. After what felt like the millionth call, a woman answered. Why do you keep harassing one of my employees? I've told your employee that he has the wrong person and to take me off the list. He refuses to believe me and has been calling me 3 times a week for the past 8 months. Ma'am, he is calling you because you're on our list and he can help you. Pretty much saying the same crap the other guy was saying, but with a really crappy attitude. Like it's me who's the butthole here. I have his number now, and if you want me to stop, you need to take me off this list and never call again. If you don't, I'll call him every minute I have the chance. I spend a lot of time in my car waiting for clients to meet me. So, you guys will be hearing from me a lot. Alright ma'am, I took you off the list. Please don't call again. Click. And they never called again. Saying something like, hello there, you're speaking with sales representative from pleasure.com. What kind of adult toys do you want to order? Really scream it at them, by the way. It always works for me. Welcome to Jim's House of Pleasure. You got the dough, we got the hoe. I used to get a lot of unsolicited calls from a company who could sort out my debt. I got a call from them one day when I wasn't doing much at home, so I decided to have some fun. I gave a false name, false address, which they couldn't find in their system. I convinced them it was a new build eventually. I then went through my debts meticulously, had them waiting while I found the paperwork, etc. Some of the debts were for my transition, and then reverting back because I'd changed my mind. 30 to 40 minutes later, I had over £300,000 in debt and was able to pay up to £4,000 per month to clear it up with them. The woman on the phone got her boss because it was such a big contract, and when the boss lady got on the phone, I told her I made it all up. I kid you not, she told me I was wasting their time and that I shouldn't do that, and then hung up on me. Never heard from them again. I get a call from a random pharmaceutical company saying that my supply of bedroom performance pills were ready for pickup. I told them that I had a complaint regarding the medication. I said that I only took half a pill and now half of my pee-pee was hard. Now my base is hard, but the tip was soft and I was teed off. I kept going on this rant for about a minute or so and they hung up. Happened twice and my friends and I are still laughing. So what the narrator is learning here is that a lot of these calls are based on saying that the recipient has an incoming order that they definitely didn't make in order to get the person to give up their details in order to cancel the order. If so, pretending that you're indeed a repeat customer who's already received multiple orders and recognizes the company is a terrific act of trolling. I always just say, Bill's orphanage, you make 'em, we take 'em. They usually don't call back after that. Steve's crematorium, you kill 'em, we grill 'em. I answer the phone as Detective So-and-so, and then I ask them who they are and why they called the number in a very stern and cop-like manner. Then I ask them where they are and act like I'm giving the information to someone else who is contacting Interpol. I ask a few more questions about their relationship to the number and advise anyone who's not already hung up that they should stay put and wait for Interpol to arrive for interrogations. It stopped calls to my classroom. I just scream for a solid 30 seconds. Whenever they intro with, "This is so-and-so on a recorded line," I always politely say, "I do not consent to being recorded or monitored." Something along those lines. It's always fun how they get so flustered and aren't sure what to do. They usually hang up and don't ever call again. I don't even know if they need my consent to record me, but it seems to work. Answer the phone with, "Ghostbusters, what do you want?" and get increasingly exasperated when they don't have a legit paranormal issue. It helps to loudly chew on gum. Not me, but my grandma. After Grandpa died, she started getting phone calls in the evening from an insurance agent trying to sell her insurance for her husband. She's very polite, but she always says, "No thank you," before she hangs up the phone. This goes on for almost a week. Grandma is really beside herself about these calls, and she tells my mum how upset she is with this man. One evening, I guess the guy was really impatient with her, and before Grandma could say, "No thank you," the agent asked, "But ma'am, you need your husband to be covered. Don't you care if he's covered?" To which she promptly replied, "He's covered with 6 feet of dirt. Is that enough coverage for you?" The man hung up and didn't call again. Grandma was a really nice lady, and she was embarrassed that she lost her temper with that guy. My sisters and I loved that story. I got a call from one of those, "You've been selected for a free trip to the Bahamas" scammers. I told them that I couldn't do that right now. "Oh no, sir, you don't understand. It's free. You just need to—" No, I understand that, sir. It's just, I'm currently under federal investigation and I can't leave the country. "Oh, I'm terribly sorry, sir. I'll remove your number from our list. Have a wonderful day." Click. I always interrupt early and say, "Ma'am, I want to hear all about your product. But first, let me tell you about my personal savior, our Lord Jesus Christ." They usually disconnect before I get to the word Christ. "I'm ringing about your recent accident." "Oh, you mean when I ran over all those children?" I'm sorry? "I know, I shouldn't have gone flat out in a school zone." "Okay, Did they figure out which heads went with which bodies?" Click. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.